In this lesson, we're going to see how we can use the skylight together with a light tracer to be able to achieve some really nice outdoor type renders. Alright, so this is the scene that we're going to be working with. Now you can see looking at this that we've pretty much stripped away everything except this desk and a couple of objects. Right, so we've gotten rid of the room and everything in it. And really this is where this skylight is meant to be used in some kind of a situation where you're not in an enclosed area, like a room. So let's go ahead and jump to a different viewport so we can drop in this skylight. Now this is going to be added just like any other type of light in 3ds Max. So let's jump over to the Create panel. We're going to add lights, and this is going to be found underneath the standard light types. Just click on Skylight, and then just click anywhere out in your scene. Alright, now the positioning of the skylight really doesn't make a difference. We can just leave this right where it is. This is just going to calculate the light that's going to come in from all different angles like we would normally see with just any kind of a skylight if you were to take away the sun. Alright, so what we first need to do is if we were to hit render, we'll notice that everything should come out just very flat colored. Alright, and you can see that's exactly what we get. What we need to do is come back and actually give this light some shadows. So let's take a look inside the Modify panel, and you'll see that the parameters for this light are very, very minimal. We have just the color, an on-off switch, and the ability to cast shadows. Now, if I turn this on, the ability to cast shadows, what we're going to see is that these renders are going to start to take a very, very, very long time. So what we need to do, instead of just simply hitting render, is we need to take advantage of something called the light tracer. So this light tracer can be found inside the render setup. This is going to be found underneath the Advanced Lighting tab, and we can pull this down, and we can choose between either the light tracer or radiosity. Right? For this particular example, we're going to use the light tracer. Alright, now this light tracer is one of the built-in methods for 3ds Max to be able to calculate indirect illumination. So this is actually a fairly straightforward method. The thing with the light tracer to keep in mind is that it's not really physically accurate, but it can give you some very good results. So let's start by just rendering out our result and see what we get. Alright, so here's our result, and you can see that the render comes back in just a little under 30 seconds. Right, so this is actually much, much faster than what we would have gotten if we had not utilized this light tracer. Otherwise, if you don't use the light tracer, this skylight will take a very, very, very long time to render. Alright, now in addition to this light tracer just being able to calculate this skylight, we can also do color bleeding effects to simulate kind of an indirect illumination. So what we can do is increase the number of bounces. Let's raise this up to something like 2 and see what we get. Alright, and now we can start to see, it's a very subtle effect, but you can actually start to see a little bit of blue being washed into this wood color. And you can even see a little bit of this kind of a peach wood color that's actually being splashed up onto this metal. Alright, so overall, with just a few clicks, this is coming along very nicely. So let's try to clean this up a little bit. Let's start to increase the rays per sample. Let's maybe try taking this up to maybe something like 400. Then we'll also take this filter size and start to increase this quite a bit. Let's take it from a value of 0.5 up to a value of 5. And what that should start to do is smooth out some of this noise that we have. Alright, so that's the result that we get. You can see overall now we've kind of taken away a lot of this noise, although there is still a little bit left. So we could always come back and maybe start to increase this rays per sample, and maybe start to even increase this filter size a little bit more, just so that it is able to kind of smooth this out even a little bit more. Now, if you're going to be using the skylight, you'll probably be using this as kind of an additional lighting to some kind of a direct light, kind of something that would behave more like a sunlight. So ideally, as far as the visual look of this, you'd probably want to give this, when you're just kind of tweaking the skylight, the look of something that's a little bit kind of like an overcast day. Right? Kind of the type of lighting that you would get if you really weren't able to see any direct sunlight. So if you do find that your lighting is a little bit too bright for this kind of a setup, you could always come back and just start to take the skylights And maybe just start to drop that down a little bit more. So that way we get less light contribution from this skylight, and then that'll give us an opportunity to start to introduce a little bit more natural, direct lighting. Alright, so there's the result that we have. Now we have something that's a little darker, a little closer to kind of an overcast, gloomy day. So let's go ahead and just finish this off by adding some kind of a direct light source. In this case, we can just use just a simple target direct. Let's drag this into the scene. This can kind of act as our sunlight. So let's bring this in and kind of aim this downward where we would need it. Alright, and let's give this some shadows. Maybe give it some nice ray trace shadows. Alright, and let's see what that does for us. Alright, and now you can see with the addition of this direct light how this kind of a skylight is able to really kind of help just give a little extra visual pop to these indirectly lit areas. So you can see in these areas where we have these nice direct shadows, how we also kind of have this nice soft diffuse shadow, which is exactly what we would see in real life. Now, looking at this, you can probably tell that our lighting is a little bit too bright, so we can always take this and drop the intensity down of our direct light. So let's go in here, take a look inside the intensity, and let's maybe drop this down a little bit. And the other thing that we can take note of is that if we really were outside, these shadows would probably have a little bit more of a blue tint to them because we're going to be getting a lot of blue light from the sky itself. So let's come into the skylight, and in the sky color, let's give it a little bit more blue. There we go. So we can try that and see what we get. Alright, and now you can see how that brings just a slightly cooler feel into this whole image. So now we got a little bit more of a blue tint in some of these shadowed areas, and just a little less intensity in some of these directly lit areas. Right, so that's a look at how we can use this light tracer together with the skylight and one direct light source to very quickly get a daylight type setup.